Hello, I have a new video for you, and in it, I will attempt to answer the question, what if baby monitors, like this one, used haptic feedback to alert parents when their child needs them? So instead of just hearing sound, they would feel vibrations on their arm or wherever they want to clip this thing on. Check it out. All right, we have a baby crying in this room. Now I'm going to plug my wristband in over here. Yeah, that works really well. See if you can hear it. So the backstory here is that my wife and I are both very excited and mildly terrified to be welcoming a tiny new roommate in a few weeks. And I've been trying to get into the mindset of a person that has to keep another person alive. And of course, we've been talking to close friends and family who are also welcoming children into their lives for tips, tricks, things to look out for. And one thing that's come up a few times is that apparently due to exhaustion or maybe just getting a little too used to the way things are now, some parents don't wake up immediately when their child cries out at night. So that got me thinking, A, what other sensory inputs could we be using to ensure parents wake up when they need to? B, on the flip side of that, could we set things up so that only one parent is alerted? Like in the case where a second parent desperately needs to catch up on sleep. And C, what about parents who can't hear? How does this work for them? And full disclosure, I have not spoken to anyone in the deaf community about this. I do not want to make assumptions about what their needs are. So if there's anything I'm getting totally wrong here, or if you have any ideas on how I can make this more useful, please let me know. But yeah, with all those questions in mind, I came up with this. I modified this recycled, cheap, off-the-shelf baby monitor to provide haptic feedback to the stretchy bracelet I've got here. And what's really neat is that the vibrations actually match the amplitude of the baby's cries in real time. Anecdotally, I've heard that parents get to know the noises their babies make and can eventually tell the difference between when a baby needs immediate attention and when they're doing like vocal warm-ups or whatever. So I really wanted to preserve that. I wanted to give the users of this thing the ability to feel the actual sound the baby's making, and with that, hopefully a little more insight into what's actually happening without needing to get out of bed. And again, this is all completely theoretical. I have no idea how useful this is going to be to anyone, including myself. This was a very cheap, fun, and quick hack. So if you stick around for a little bit, I'll tell you exactly how it works. And I feel like my projects have been growing in scale quite a bit, which is very, very cool. But it's also so refreshing to just pick a project like this and just bang it out. It definitely gets the creative juices flowing, and it's a great reminder of how in the age of software and cheap electronics, you often have a lot more control over your own world than you might think you do if you're willing to get into the weeds a little bit. I've said this before in my videos, but it's very comforting to me to know that if there's no product on the market that fits my needs, I might be able to make my own. And on that note, everything here is open source as usual. I'll make sure to put a link down in the description below for all the info. So yeah, let's talk about how it works. And just to manage expectations, I'm going to film this later, so I may or may not look completely different. Okay, let's start with the bracelet and work our way backwards. The band here is just a hair elastic that I got at Target. And if you look here, maybe you can see I've crudely sewn just a normal headphone jack into it. And on the back, you probably won't be able to see this, but I soldered two of the terminals of the headphone jack directly to the leads of this little vibration motor. Based on my Amazon recommendations after I bought these, I think they are commonly used in toys, like the other kind of toys for parents. But, you know, strong vibrations, affordable, great purchase. Now, to connect the bracelet, I am using a plain old aux cable like you probably used to use to connect your iPod to your car stereo. And this is great because these are very compact and the cables are widely available, but it is terrible in that the signal coming down this wire would probably murder a set of headphones. So generally I try to avoid using cables and connectors for things other than what they are widely used for, because you never know who's gonna, come along, see this baby monitor and see the headphone jack and say, I wonder what would happen if I plugged in my earbuds. And the answer is bad things would happen. So, generally wouldn't do it, but I had all of this stuff sitting around and this is just a prototype, so it was a good fit. On the other end of the aux cable, on the receiving end of this little headphone jack, I have one of these generic motor driver modules, which I got on Amazon, and all this does is take a small signal from my microcontroller, which I'll show you in a minute, and amplify it to properly drive, to physically vibrate that motor I just showed you. So very simple. The baby monitor itself is a VTech DM1111, very straightforward digital baby monitor. I don't know if they're still producing these, but you can still get them new in box for like $20, and on eBay you can get a used set for half that, plus a little more for shipping. And finally, this is the microcontroller board, which has a very long name that I will put on the screen around me for a second. It's very small, as you can see, very powerful, and it costs about $10, which is great. This board also has Bluetooth, which I am using to remotely configure the baby monitor. So I didn't really want to make any additional physical modifications to the baby monitor. I didn't want to be adding buttons or knobs or anything like that, but I did want to give the user the ability to kind of dial in exactly how much vibration they'd want to feel. So with the Bluetooth, they can just download a generic Bluetooth app off of whatever app store they use, and they can connect to this device, and just by setting a number in the app, they can control the intensity of the vibration, which is really cool. I also set things up so that I could monitor the amplitude of the sound over the Bluetooth connection. So I could theoretically extend this project to control anything else with the baby's cries wirelessly and digitally. I don't need to add any more modifications to the actual baby monitor. So for some examples, I could write a mobile app that sends a notification to a parent if the baby's cries are above a certain level for a specified amount of time. I could control a synthesizer using the amplitude of the baby's cries. I'll think of some silly demo to add to the end of this video. But if you think of any practical examples of things that might actually help a parent, please leave a comment below. I'd love to keep experimenting. Okay, so what's going on under the hood? When these first arrived, my immediate thought is, how am I going to convert the audio amplitude on the receiving end of the baby monitor into a number, just a value that I could use to control the strength of the motor driver? And there are ways to do this using basic signal processing, and there are dedicated circuits that will do that exact job. But fortunately, before I dove in too deep, I realized they're doing this job for me. These lights are doing exactly what I need to do. This is effectively just a counter from 0 to 5, representing exactly how loud the sound is. All I really had to do was attach a wire to one side of each of these LED lights and use my microcontroller to very frequently check whether the baby monitor had turned those lights on or off.
This is a baby. This is a baby.
I literally just add up the number of bulbs that are on at a given moment, divide that by the total number of bulbs to get a percentage, and then I use that value to set the strength of the vibration motor, and I do that every 5 milliseconds or so. So it feels pretty smooth. It works very, very well. And as soon as I was done patting myself on the back for figuring this out, I remembered that I had seen it before. Ben Heckendorn, aka Ben Heck, aka the host of the now defunct Ben Heck Show, used this LED monitoring trick in a slightly different baby monitor modification in an episode like 6 years ago. If you are getting into electronics or any kind of making in general, I highly recommend you go back and work your way through the old episodes of the Ben Heck Show. I learned so much from that team, and it's been really fun going back and rewatching those episodes now that I'm a little more confident in my abilities. If you are already familiar with both of our channels, you have surely noticed their strong influence on my work. And I think the last thing to talk about here is power. So both ends of the baby monitor expect 6 volts of DC power from their default power supplies. However, the microcontroller that I put in here expects 5 volts. Fortunately, I noticed when I first cracked the receiver open that there was a voltage regulator right near the power input that knocked down the voltage from 6 volts to somewhere around 3 volts, which I think most, if not all, of the internal electronics are using. And it turns out the voltage regulator is a very common one that will happily accept 5 volts instead of 6 volts. So in theory, the whole baby monitor should run fine on 5 volts. Spoiler alert, it does. So what I did was I chopped the end off the original power supply and spliced it onto an old USB cable that I had sitting around. And that means I'm able to use one of these ubiquitous phone chargers that put out 5 volts to a USB cable. You probably have 100 of them sitting around. And as a last note on power, the receiver did originally ship with a rechargeable battery that I removed to make room for my electronics. So portability would have been nice, and I assume parents use that feature. They can walk around the house with this thing clipped on using the battery. But I figured for this demo, probably not completely necessary. And I'm very happy to report that that is the only piece of functionality that I broke in this baby monitor. Everything else works just like it did out of the box. The lights, the sound, it's a completely normal baby monitor. I am always very, very happy when I can do one of these modifications in a non-destructive way, because you never know when you just need a normal baby monitor. I especially don't know because I still don't have a baby. Okay, that is the end. Thank you very much for watching. As promised, I said I would demo the Bluetooth functionality in a silly way. So I have the baby monitor hooked up to my computer via Bluetooth, and I am using it as a keyboard so I can play the classic game Flappy Bird. All right, jump, jump, jump. Oh, this isn't gonna work well. Jump, 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 jump. Okay, well, we'll have to practice that. And just so you know, I stole this Flappy Bird idea from a hackathon entry I saw a few years ago. It's called Screamy Bird. I'll put a link to the description. Thanks for watching.